From the police state to tectonic plates, Dutchsinse and Tattoo take the temperature of tyranny on Freedom Frequency 1871, coming to you live now.
This is America. We have a founding fathers that wrote a constitution that we haven't lived by in 142 years.
Were they serious when they said they planned on owning the weather by 2025?
And if you're not pissed off, there's something wrong with you right now.
Have you guys seen what's going on outside your door lately? Need I remind you?
This is America. Are y'all going to allow it to be Russia? To the pen.
We've got the castle surrounded now. We wage war in the name of laws and the souls you broken. Drop your swords. We've captured the king, checkmate, motherfuckers. We won the war. The people want peace and the people have spoken. It's just a cycle how life goes. We're headed by psychos. Left, right, left, striking ain't my phone. These ice cold
Okay, everybody, welcome back to Freedom Frequency 1871, our first ever live broadcast. This is Dutchsinse, and I've got Tattooed on here with me.
Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing?
All right, and that was the first segment, went by pretty quick. We've got a lot to talk about, and we haven't even gotten to the news yet, for this past week. You can expect in the future, guys, that we will be talking about headlines that are happening. And this first show is really to give you an idea of why we're doing this. What's at stake? What's so important? Why do we need to get on live radio and bring a message to you? And I hope I laid that out pretty well in the first half hour.
We're hoping that people can hear the message all across the world instead of having to deal with fake views and bot views and not knowing the truth of who's really the people pushing the information that's truly the people that is fighting for the truth. That's my point.
Look what happened this past week, Tat. There was that, guys, there was a story that came out last week, and I'll shut up about Fukushima after this, but it was a fake story, two fake stories, actually. First one said there was a giant plume and a fire, this is last week, 7 days ago, that happened at Fukushima. A fake story that saying that the people on the West Coast need to move or get out of the way of this plume that's coming across. Now, this was a fake story created by a YouTube channel. We won't name their name, but you guys wouldn't be shocked if you found out who it was that did it. Within a few days of that, we had another fake story come out. This one showed a picture from 2011 when the reactor actually blew, and they said there was underground nuclear detonation that just occurred at Fukushima. And again, people need to evacuate and get off the West Coast. Now, a year ago, another YouTube channel created a fake Fukushima fire story, put it out across Godlike Productions and several other outlets, and I got contacted by a couple of my viewers. One was a nice lady. I'm not going to give her name out. She was extremely concerned about this plume, this fake plume that was reported last year coming across. And she wanted to know if she should take her child out of kindergarten that she had just enrolled and paid for, and if she should leave the West Coast. Now, that's heavy. If you really think about that, somebody sending you a message saying, do I need to take my child out and get off the West Coast? I just saw this, blah, 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 blah. And I had to go sort things out. I had to go do the research and find out what's going on. I had to put a post together and show everybody so that I knew she wasn't going to be the only one contacting me. Meanwhile, Disinfo Central over on YouTube promoting themselves away. No problem. You go flag the video for false misleading headlines. Nothing happened, and the video stayed up and caused a huge panic. This is what we are up against. Those kind of channels are promoted and accepted and liked and shared across the dang world. Ours, we are like the, no offense to the redheads, to redheaded stepchildren of YouTube.
Tat. Or the black sheep of the families.
Yeah, the black sheep. Like, we really have become, the Dutchsinse, they call it the Dutchsinse effect. Several people call it that. And I would say there is. Now, I would encourage everybody to go to Anagram Maker right now, type in Dutchsinse, and see what other words come up, what my name spells when you rearrange the letters. And I would tell you that's where the hatred is coming from. People's minds are rearranging the letters, and it says some horrible stuff. This fake stuff, like the fake explosions or the fake stories, is what differentiates our channels, I believe, from the other channels that are out there. And YouTube itself gets marginalized. Everybody says, oh, you can hear anything on YouTube, and that's true. And there's a million people out there that are doing it. Everything from ISON to, giants and all kinds of weirdness. And they promote it like it's 100% truth without actually saying, this is just my opinion. You never hear them say, in my opinion. They always present it to be 100% fact. And that's what's accepted on YouTube and promoted. If you're coming out with anything controversial, you can just plan that you are not going to get hurt. The weather mod information that I put out over the last several years, controversial. I get it. People, it's a very, very controversial subject. And I should not expect, really, at this point, I've learned to not expect any kind of publicity off those things. And the only thing you can expect to get publicity off of is something that either confirms or furthers the agenda of the powers that be, which a lot of people say there are no powers that be. But I would say there are. It's proved. We've gone through enough to know that some of the forces that we're up against are controlled opposition, not just some dude behind a keyboard, but really like groups of people kind of thing. This past week, here's another example. This past week, the X-37 landed. You remember the X-37 super secret spacecraft?
I do.
Right, okay. The X-37 Weather Channel puts out a thing on their YouTube page saying the super secret X-37B has landed, and it was on a test flight for, they've been flying them all over for many, well, now 2 years almost. And when I saw their video, it got like a nice response, and everybody, thumbs up, and Weather Channel just talking about this super secret plane. 2 years ago, when we were talking about it, it didn't exist. We were crazy. We were conspiracy theorists then. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What is this X-37B? Then all of a sudden, after we started to talk about it on YouTube, next thing you know, the mainstream media was forced to acknowledge the X-37B. And this is what I call now myself the Dutchsinse effect, which is if you talk about something that's controversial and you don't back down and you stand up for yourself and you keep on posting, the results are phenomenal if you stick with what you believe, if you stick to what you know. You don't let somebody sidetrack you. And so when I was 6 months in on my YouTube startup, when I first started on YouTube, the USGS responded to me on the volcanic plumes in Southern California, right? Huge controversy. Oh, Dutchsinse seen plumes. Oh my gosh. Well, the USGS felt the need to respond to my video. And that blew me away at the time. I said, wow, okay, here I am. I'm definitely talking about something controversial. But why do they feel the need to talk about some YouTube guy? Well, they're getting inundated from questions because everybody was looking at the same thing I was looking at and seeing something. And they tried to say it was a thunderstorm, by the way, which they then came back later and said it wasn't. But we won't get into that. That could be a whole 2-hour broadcast on plumes and geologic activity in Southern California. Now, the end net result of that, after they said it wasn't a volcanic plume, within a month and a half after that, they've created a new California Volcano Observatory. The USGS did, to monitor Southern California volcanoes. And within a few months of that, they elevated a volcano in Southern California at Salton Sea to active status. And they used some technicality. They said, we misjudged the carbon dating of the lava on the surface, and now we need to elevate this volcano to active. In all reality, Southern California for the last couple of years has been showing a slight uptick in activity when it comes to volcanic action. There were sulfuric smells, boiling mud pots going up over the normal size in Southern California, right down near the Salton Sea. Also, huge amounts of bubbles coming up off the West Coast where they sent out teams of scientists in boats to monitor. All right, now all that was supposedly just a coincidence, right? Just a coincidence after Dutchsinse saw plumes coming out of a volcano on a clear day. Well, it wasn't just me who saw those things. First of all, several thousand other people saw it, and a few people notified me of it. That's how I found out about it. I didn't just happen to stumble across the radar in Southern California on that day. And I think a lot of people don't understand. They maybe imagine people like me or other researchers, actively out there scouring for this information. A lot of it gets sent to us by people who are observant, people who are like-minded, but they're not making videos. They instead send us a message and say, hey, check this out, Dutch. What do you see? What do you think? I'll see it, and if I'm blown away by it, I'll make a video or a post. I don't know if that's the way you operate, Tad, but that's the way I do it.
Well, I'll look into it, and I'll find out whether or not I can actually prove what I'm going to say. And if I can, then I say, I tell everybody that, and I also say that it's my opinion, because even that, I know you do the same thing. So it's all crazy stuff.
It is. I mean, here's another example that you and I went through together, Tat. The Louisiana sinkhole.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Again, let's go back a ways, guys. It started one day. Sheila Aliens makes a video, and she says, hey, there's weird bubbles that are appearing in the bayou down in Louisiana. She puts up the video, and me being the guy who's into earthquake, I start watching this, and I see, oh my gosh, this is happening all across the bayou. This isn't just one little spot. This is a large area that's starting to bubble off. We put out the videos, no mainstream news coverage except for one blurb that Sheila put out, and we started to talk about it. Hey, this looks like it could be a big problem happening here. We're going to have to wait and see. The officials said, the skeptics said, oh, it must just be a busted pipeline. That's the bubbles. The bubbles are coming up from some kind of busted pipeline. Hundreds of people saying this. Within a day or two, I guess it was within 2 days of us talking about it on YouTube, next thing you know, Assumption Parish creates a blog, creates a whole thing covering this new bubble scenario. And right after they created that, the sinkhole went and collapsed in. And it started to grow. That led us to then make videos saying, hey, this is going to continue to grow. And I said this multiple times. I'm like, it's going to continue to grow. There's nothing there to stop it. When you look at the underlying geologic area, there is nothing that's going to stop this thing from growing bigger and bigger and bigger until it hits some other area around there that's going to be able to support that collapse. Because the collapse is happening, and there's nothing that's able to support it around there. So more collapse is going to happen. It's just simple logic.
And they dropped a 750-foot line in it. They said it was only 300 feet deep, but it's over 750 feet because he could have kept going. He just run out of wire. And hell, that was been 6 months ago. And it's still growing at this time, but we don't get an update on it now, or flyover on it, but every 3 months now instead of like we were getting.
That's right. And the company that's supposed to do that, when the heat was on, all of a sudden was doing a flyover every week. And the heat was on from the YouTube community. When you listened to the town meetings that were happening down there, and again, for those of you guys who are international and you're like, United States, a sinkhole, what does it matter? This is right along the Gulf Coast in swampland, right exposed to basically to the open waterways, where huge amounts of oil and natural gas and crude oil, natural oil, coming up out of the ground and polluting the environment. And this is a result of human activity. They drilled down into a salt dome, collapsed the dome, and now we have a huge problem in the southern United States. Now, why does that matter internationally? Because they're also doing this type of stuff internationally. It's not just the United States that's drilling out salt domes and filling them with petroleum products. This is done worldwide.